Hey guys, welcome to Clockwork Noodles for another breakdown of the Apothecary Diaries, episode 15. And have you guys heard the great news that Apothecary Diaries is getting a live stage adaptation? Obviously, for Japan. We always tend to miss out on these things. But I guess if you speak Japanese and you can get hold of the recordings they tend to do, you are in for a treat. My Japanese is slowly coming on. I have been learning now for 140 days. My vocab is getting there, but there's a lot to take in. I do like it when I am able to just look down for a moment to make a note and I can still hear what's going on. I am learning Japanese, so hello and welcome to Clockwork Noodles for everyone who is joining us today. I hope you guys are doing well and your new year is going on very, very well. We are currently in the middle of like -5 at the moment. The UK is frozen, but it is all fun and games when it comes to this episode in particular. Just a word of warning, I am going to go into something that was mentioned at the end. You see, it's the Larkin thing. If you haven't figured it out or don't want to essentially have it spoiled for you, because I think I'm right, I'm going to go through it anyway. I will give you a warning again just to click off when I get to that sequence. It'll be right at the end of the video anyway, but in the meantime there's so much cool stuff I want to discuss in the video. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Hello and welcome to the channel. We've been breaking this anime down for now 15 episodes. We've only got 9 episodes left to go, but this is a great episode and I think a lot started to come together in my head this week. So let's talk about the man of the hour, but we're not going into spoilers just yet. This is Larkin. Seems to have piqued interest in a girl who has been taken on by Jinshi. Obviously, it's our girl Mao Mao, but he's very interested to hear that she's the one who is figuring things out, and he seems very interested in particular when he hears the name Verdis House. I have already mentioned that in the OP there are plenty of hints at who he is. I do have a wild guess, and I think with the end sequence I'm pretty much 100% now. I will go through that at the end. The key thing to take away from the opening sequence is he's very interested in Jinshi, and he wants to know about the girl that he's taken on. And as we find out via Jinshi a little bit later on, he has been camping his office for 7 days. It's like, dude, go away. I don't want you there. That poor Jinshi doesn't actually get on with Larkin. I think it's because he's quite a prickly character, so I can suspect that it's not just Jinshi who is struggling. I did initially think that Larkin had asked Jinshi about Mao Mao, or for Mao Mao's advice on this next bit, but it would have been Jinshi's aide. So Jinshi's aide comes to Mao Mao about the fugu poisoning. Fugu's already scary as it is. I have been told that to eat fugu in Japan, you have to sign a waiver. It's basically saying, if I die, I understand that this fish is super poisonous and accidents happen. I'm not going to sue the person who has cooked the fugu fish. To cook fugu fish, I think you need to have a certain qualification to actually handle such a dangerous fish. I don't actually eat fish anyway, I just don't like the taste, so I just would not be partaking in fugu. Naturally, our girl loves the idea of fugu and really wants to do it, and I'm glad that Jinshi's aide and her do get on. The two really do seem to get on. We also know that she has a lot of respect for him, which I think is quite nice. He also treats her nicely, so I like the relationship between the two. It's just sad because you see Jinshi starting to get more and more jealous this week because he's left out. I don't initially know why he's left out. Not give Jinshi any more work. We are told that Jinshi's falling behind on his work. Maybe that is the case. I do like the reaction and her face when he just pops up out of nowhere. It's just my face when people are just like, oh, I don't like anime. You're what? It's like, what? Is that possible? Of course it is. Priceless. Her face this week was absolutely priceless. Poor Jinshi, just slowly getting more and more low-key bummed out that he's being kicked out, and her low-key burn, that he actually had an interesting conversation. I really wanted to listen to it, and him saying, well, you normally just cut me off, and that's her trying to get out of there because she generally doesn't have a great deal of interest in what Jinshi is saying, which cuts deep. Poor Jinshi this week is going to be needing to apply some ice on that burn. Mao Mao and Larkin attending the same school of holding my chin. I noticed that quite quickly with the two. They're both doing the whole chin thing. At least it's not the Michael Bay school of running away from things. It is the Larkin and Mao Mao school of chin holding, when you figure things out. Now, I would never have guessed that seaweed could be poisonous. I don't really like seaweed either. I'm quite a fussy eater when it comes to things. It's just fish, mainly. I just won't eat fish, seafood, or any of that kind of stuff. And seaweed has the word sea in it, okay? It still counts as a sea thing. I just wouldn't like it. I think it just tastes gross. And most of the time around here anyway, if you go to a Chinese restaurant and order seaweed, they do tend to serve you curly kale. and my mum's a big fan of seaweed, but I would have never guessed that it could even be poisonous. Mau is on a different level of smart than I am. My brain is not big brain enough, but it was big brain enough to figure things out. Now, the guy Barsan, I think his name is, he is the same guy we saw last week at the end. He seems to have been present when the guy falls into a coma. Don't know if that's a coincidence. Now, Mau does also say this guy looks really familiar. I think he's the same guy from the salt case, the guy who ended up sadly being poisoned because of his diabetes and not sensing it was salty enough. But that would link him to 2 cases now, and I don't know if that's the case. But it also would seem and hint that the guy who did actually poison his brother, he overheard about the capabilities of seaweed in the first place, and I think it was Barsan who told him. But that connection hasn't been made just yet. But the master's brother was too suspicious. He essentially presided over the whole lot. Despite the fact they said they were here under official orders, he is still rude. He still tries to get rid of them, and that in myself is just, it's too suspicious. The fact that he's monitoring them and making sure they can't actually conduct a proper check of the kitchen. The guy knows exactly what he's done. It wasn't a surprise when it came out. He was the guy who technically poisoned his brother because he wanted to off him, and he just simply wanted to step up quick enough because I guess he wasn't treated great enough because there's someone above you. There's somebody who's more important because they're the older brother. Jinshi shouting the word vomit, I legit at one point thought this was the funniest thing that could happen this week. Obviously it's not, because something even funnier happens, but I needed a moment to recover because of the voice actor's just capabilities of shouting the word vomit very loudly in Japanese, and I loved it to pieces to see how freaked out he got. He thought she was going to get poisoned. It's him caring about her in little ways and her just not having enough self-care about the fact that she really enjoys the idea of being poisoned. As you said, I have the cure right here. It's fine. If I am poisoned, I can just take this. But Jinshi not having any of it. The big question remaining when it comes to the Fugu wrap-up is, did Basan tell the brother about the poisonous seaweed? We don't know. There's not enough evidence. We can just basically speculate. I think he maybe would have done, but I don't know to what purpose. The question you always got to ask yourself when you're trying to make links like this is, what is to gain? What does Basan gain if it was him? What did he get from this action? And I can't figure that out. I'm going to leave it at that. Now, Jinshi and meeting the wall very, very violently with his face was perhaps the funniest thing I have seen all week. I love Jinshi. His reaction was just OTT and perfect. How to say hello to a wall very violently, Jinshi style. But this does lead into Jinshi telling us about Larkan, how he's not really a fan. They're not friends of each other. Jinshi can't really get on with him. He also says that he thinks Larkan's got it out for him because he's been camping in his office. That is, of course, down to the fact that Mau is there. The interesting thing to note in this sequence is Mau's reaction when he goes, he's 40, he's in military office, he's weird. Mau decides that she wants to put it from her brain. She does the whole, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, and walk off. And obviously when she's sweeping leaves, she says, can't get it out my brain, but she's trying not to think about it because it's important. And we're going to roll that into the end bit because I want to give you guys a chance, if you don't want to hear it, to click off. But please don't click off yet. We're still talking about Jinshi in particular. Let's talk about the fact as well that Larkan apparently has a adopted son. So he's not married, but he does have an adopted son. I don't know if that's more just because of his status. He needs to have somebody to take over from him, so it's probably expected that he has a son. We'll have to probably meet him at some point. We did also get from the Jinshi conversation that Larkan has a Verdis house connection, which is very important. And I'm going to give you guys now a chance. If you don't want to hear this next bit of me making my statement, I think I'm correct anyway. If you haven't figured things out with this guy out yet, just click off. And thank you guys for watching the video as well, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. But if you are willing to sit through my wild theory and connecting all the dots, please continue to stay seated. Thank you. I have already mentioned the OP, and when I mentioned the OP about him in particular, it was the blue roses. Now, blue roses, as I stated, they're not found in nature. They are created by science. Now, we are told about Larkin that he was in love with a courtesan who served at the Verdis house. And of course, this is when we were going, oh. And the way that he also mentions her, he uses the past tense of was. Mama's mum, as we know, was a lady who served at Verdis house, and she was very popular, very beautiful, and we were told that she then passed away, which would line up with the was aspect. We're told that she was very good at shogi. We haven't seen that yet, but I would not be surprised with how smart she is. Mau has definitely inherited the brains from presumably both of them. Yeah, I'm going there. Apparently as well that two very rich men were trying to outbid her. The bit that kind of gave it away was when they mentioned that she had a very icy cold stare, and of course you see the bottom of her with the green hair because same colour hair as Mau Mau, that her icy stare and looking down upon people would make people, weirdly enough, the people would hate it or people would really, really like it. And that's when both the aide and Jinshi think about Mau Mau, because she's got the same aspect of looking down on Jinshi and him absolutely lapping it up. We are told that two rich men tried to outbid and buy her out. Now, we've also been told already by the anime that buying a courtesan out is very expensive. So these very rich people, I'm betting one of these would have been an emperor of sorts, perhaps. Maybe somebody high in the palace liked her smarts because she's super smart. She obviously sold her smarts as opposed to selling herself, which I think is very, very interesting. I like that. I like the fact that she can actually say, you know, I'm not going to host people, I'm going to play shogi with them or something. I respect this. A few scenes that we've seen of her with her daughter have been really friendly. You would be friendly with your kid. You're not going to be treating her like your customers. You're going to treat her with respect and love. This is where things get darker and darker when Larkin decides that he said he really liked her too and he wanted to essentially bugger up this bidding war that was going on, and he didn't want either of them to have her. So it was more, if I can't have her, you can't have her, and he decided to do something that YouTube doesn't like. I can't say the R word, but you guys probably know what the R word is. He did something bad to devalue her. One way of making a courtesan undesirable is by giving her baby Mau Mau. This, of course, would mean that if he did do what he is implying, either A, Mau Mau has a sibling we're not aware of, which I don't think is the case because of the age, or two, he's her dad. I've had these hunches for a little while. This is basically him himself giving me all the information I really need. He lowered her value, and I guess she was unable to be sold by this point because she was pregnant, and she then had Mau Mau. This is huge. This is absolutely massive for the anime to be dropping this bomb. And it's weird as well that he just comes out of it and tells Jinshi just that off the bat. Naturally, Jinshi and the aide are not going to put two and two together because they don't know about her mum just yet. Not that I'm aware of. I don't think they know anything about her actual mum. It would mean that Mau Mau actually has a dad in the palace. He has just hired Mau Mau to, I guess, test her smarts again at trying to solve a riddle. And this is going to be obviously next week's episode where we see Mau Mau trying to solve a riddle of a guy dying before he can pass on his secrets and see if Mau Mau can. The next week's episode is called Lead, so I'm guessing it's something to do with lead as well. This week's episode is absolutely huge. I know a few people said that they really like Larkin, but if he did do what he's implying, I don't like him because I don't like that word. Even the word makes me feel sick. Larkin also opens his eyes for the first time. During that sequence, he has blue eyes that match Mau Mau's eyes as well. The entire sequence is also taken place on a desaturated scale, as I said before. They have basically hit those sliders and taken all the colour out because it's not a colourful sequence. He's not discussing something very pleasant. It has to be serious. Interesting to see why he was telling Jinshi this. I don't know what his motivations would be and whether he's connected the dots that this is her daughter and his daughter perhaps. Lots to mull over. I've got a lot to go think about. You might have been bugging me since I saw the OP anyway, because it just implied that he wanted something that he couldn't have, which would have been the courtesan Mau Mau's mother, who was very expensive. He's rich, but I don't think he's that rich because we're told that he's a military officer, high ranking, but he probably didn't have enough money to buy out a courtesan, which apparently takes a small palace to buy. So that also maybe gives us a hint how much Jinshi may have paid for Mau Mau to hire her. I know Mau Mau's technically not a courtesan. She doesn't work for Verdi's house, but she has those links. I can't imagine the contract he took out with the house and her would have been any small bargain, because we saw him give her a very rare fungus and a lot of money to the actual house itself. Lots to think about. I hope my ramblings and my theories, if you were close to figuring it out, I hope that helps figure it out, at least put things into perspective. Hopefully nobody actually stayed and I haven't spoiled anybody. I just really wanted to get this off my chest because I figured it out with all these little hints. There were too many hints just to ignore, and him coming out basically and saying it had to be discussed. Thank you guys so much. I really love this anime. This is shaping up to be one of my favourites of maybe the year. I don't know. I don't think it won last year, but if it continues the way it is, it might stand a chance of being this year's anime of the year. We'll have to see. Really do like this show. I hope you guys are looking after yourselves, and I will see you guys again for episode 16 next week. Bye guys.